Okay. Y'all enjoying Quartzfest so far? Huh? All together. All right. Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? This is my first time here, and I'm loving it. So, why are we here? How did we get here? About a month and a half ago, Chris posted on the Quartzsite page that she was looking for more presenters, and I had this idea. I said, well, there's going to be a bunch of YouTube hams there, and so why don't we do a panel of YouTube hams, and they can interact with our viewers and answer questions, and basically talk about what the experience of running a YouTube ham radio channel. And she said, that's a great idea. Why don't you organize it? And I said, sure, send. What did I just do? So here we are. I reached out to a few people that I knew would be here, and they graciously agreed to donate their time to this panel. And we'll get to introductions here in just a moment. But first, I wanted to do a quick thank you to the staff that puts this thing together. I was talking to Chris today. She has a group of about 6. But with all the volunteers and the people that do all the work, there's close to 16 to 20 people that put this thing together for us every year and take care of all the everything that goes on. And I think that they deserve a good little round of applause for all the work that they do putting Quartzfest together for us. Yeah. Thanks to those guys. Thanks very much. Okay, so what we're going to be doing, we're going to do some introductions and maybe talk a little bit about our channels. And I have one viewer question. I asked for viewers to submit questions, and I had one. And it was a good one, so we'll get to that. But then I guess what we'll probably do is the meat of this is we'll do a Q&A with you guys. We'll give you guys the opportunity to interact with us in real time instead of through comments, and maybe ask some questions that you might have for us about running the channels, experiences that we have with it, anything you want to know, anything you'd like to ask us. So start thinking about those questions. But before I go down and introduce everybody here, how many of you watch Callum McCormick, the DX Commander? That's a few. Okay, that's a few. For the rest of you, he created an antenna called the DX Commander, and he's over in England. And he has a lively YouTube channel that's kind of fun. He's kind of a hoot. And I reached out to him as well, but unfortunately he was unable to secure pontoons for his RV to get across the Atlantic. But he was good enough to send me a little 2-minute greeting for you guys. And so I'm going to try to play that with the cell phone. Hopefully the mic will pick it up okay. So this is Callum over there in the UK.
Okay, Kevin, thanks for organising this. So yes, I'm Callum from DX Commander in England. I really genuinely wanted to be there today with you, but logistics and time have blown that away. I'm sorry. I hope this MP3 will be suffice. Now, my channel, DX Commander, was originally started, and I'm sure some of you already know this story, to document an antenna that I had designed, the original DX Commander all-band vertical. The concept was a little bit different from the norm, and I thought I really needed a couple of videos online that I could refer people to so they understood the product and how to put it together. Now, I guess that was maybe 2 years ago now, and the real fun starts from that first subscriber asks a question. I loved that engagement I had with my new friends, and it's just snowballed from there. Running a YouTube channel in such a small world niche is interesting, in that many of you are probably subscribers and fans of all the panelists here, but I worked out pretty fast that the community was quite small, but really warm. I wonder if there's more than 100,000 ham radio obs, even on YouTube. We're all micro channels within the YouTube spectrum. But what is strange about YouTube, well, I found this, is that there's less jerks on YouTube than there is on QRZ and EHAM forums. I mean, hell, if you want an argument fast, log into EHAM or QRZ and ask a question. But not so YouTube. Strangely, folks seem to have much more of a community spirit. So I thank you all out there for keeping that community spirit alive. It really is down to you. Hey, before I go, here's two stats just for fun. Almost 50% of my views are from the USA. Yay! Thank you, guys. But very few ladies. I mean, very few ladies. So either that means I'm not very attractive to ladies, or ladies don't like the hobby, or maybe both. Interesting debate for you. But don't let me hold you up. Thanks, Kevin, for dragging me along. And take care, guys. And remember, enjoy your radio. That's Callum M0, MCX, DX Commander, signing clear, and 73. Bye-bye.
And thanks, Callum, for doing that. I appreciate it. Okay, so I'll start, and then we'll just hand the mic down and let everybody introduce themselves to you and tell you a little bit about their channels. I started a YouTube channel for family stuff years and years ago. And then eventually a friend of mine said, well, you know, you do all of these little experiments and projects with ham radio. You should start putting some of that in there. And I started doing that, and the views really picked up, and I started to gain subscribers, and it just snowballed from there. And I'm still doing that today, and I really enjoy it. And I really enjoy the comments threads. I get really great comments and interaction with people and suggestions, and so that's what I'm doing with YouTube. My stuff is all experimental, mostly 3D printing and electronics, as well as mostly ham radio and antenna stuff. And I do get beat up a lot on antennas. If you're ever lost in the woods and you don't think you're going to find your way home, lay out some wire and start building an antennas. And 2 or 3 hams are going to come up and say, you know, you need to put an insulator there, and you find your way out. Just follow them. So that's my channel. That's what I do, and so far I've enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm Kevin Laughlin. My call is KB9RLW. You can search YouTube for that call if you haven't seen my channel, and you'll find me right away. For those of you that do watch and are subscribers, thank you. I do really appreciate it. And now to my left we have Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
Hi guys, I'm Bob, K6UDA from the K6UDA radio show on YouTube, and got a couple of personal friends, local guys, traveling with me here. Well, not with me, but whatever. My YouTube channel is a little tiny bit different, and in that I kind of started this thing as a lesson in filmmaking, and I wanted to learn how to make videos and entertaining videos. And why is something beeping at me? Okay. I wanted to learn how to make entertaining videos, so I thought, wow, if I can make ham radio videos interesting for non-hams, I could do anything. I'm Cecil B. DeMille, man. So that was my original goal, and it really morphed into getting non-hams and guys that are new hams, guys that want to be hams, or just maybe considered it once, and then walked away, getting them interested enough to get their license and kind of explain, you know, how things work in terms that I could understand. And I come from a non-technical world. Unlike everybody else up here, these guys are all smart. I'm not. So that's my deal, and I am glad to be here. This place is a blast. This is my fifth year coming here, and just love it. So want me to pass it down, or? Okay, next up, Randy, K7AGE, who actually, this is the guy who got me started making videos.
Hi there, yeah, I K7AGE Randy. I started playing around with YouTube about a year after YouTube was formed. I just checked, they went on the air February of 2005. I think I made my first video about September of 2006. I was headed off to Beijing for a broadcast show, and when you travel around the world, you end up in these weird time zones, so you kind of take stuff along maybe to do at 3 o'clock in the morning. So kind of on my way out the door, I grabbed my camera and shot a bunch of stuff in my ham shack, and went to Beijing at about 3 o'clock in the morning. Couldn't sleep, so I plugged the PMCIA FireWire card into my laptop, plugged the video camera in, And Movie Maker just popped open. I had no idea that was even on the computer. And it said, would you like to ingest your media? And I hit OK. And the little tape ran back and played in. And it copied all the clips into the camera or into the laptop. And so I edited it together and got 200-300 views. So I thought, there's some hams out there watching this stuff. I think the only other one that I really remember doing ham stuff back then was George Thomas and Tommy, from the guys from Amateur Logic. So I started doing videos of me operating, working DX, and I would edit in a map and stuff like that and share what's going on. And then one day I did a video on how to get on PSK 31. So we went from a couple hundred viewers to now viewer counts up in the 10,000. So I thought, this is a great training thing. So I did a whole bunch on PSK 31. Probably my most popular ham video is where I show people how to build a quarter wave ground plane antenna, something that a lot of us just take for granted, but it's helped getting a lot of people on. So I kind of do training or educational things or things that are interesting to me. I've just now started to release a whole series of videos about building my antenna and tower project in my new home on the southern Oregon coast. So I've got videos showing the guys digging a hole and putting concrete in, and pretty soon you're going to see me using the slime to get the coaxes through the conduit. So we go through peaks and valleys. There's been times in the hole since 2006 I put a lot out, and other times not very many. So hopefully I'm coming back up out of the slump there. So that's what I do. How many people here have watched, seen my stuff? Yeah, okay, thank you. Jeri. Does Jeri need an introduction? No.
Hi, I'm Jeri Ellsworth. My channel is not very creative as far as the name goes, Jeri Ellsworth. And I got my start, I was working at a company called NewTek that originally made the video toaster in the 90s, and I was hired to... Amiga! Yeah, someone yelled out. I was hired to build their TriCaster system, or part of it, which is a box that streams video out to the internet. And in the mid-2000s, it was really difficult to stream video out to the internet. You couldn't just do it through your iPhone live and troll your YouTube people. So I worked on this box. We got the first units going, and I'm like, well, I should figure out what this video streaming stuff is all about. So I had met this gentleman, George Sanger, who was a musician, and he's like, this video streaming thing's going to be hot, and I like to invent things, you like to invent things. Let's do a live video stream called Fat Man and Circuit Girl, which, oh, you actually saw Fat Man and Circuit Girl? So I started streaming on the weekends with friends where we would build projects, and then we'd stream live on Sundays, and we started getting hundreds and thousands of people logging into Ustream to watch us. Somewhere along the line, YouTube came along. I'm like, well, I might as well just start dumping this stuff onto YouTube, and I started doing that. And it, surprisingly, it took off. It was quite popular, lots of engagement, which was super fun. I enjoyed that, and the thesis of my channel changed from the Fat Man and Circuit Girl weekly show to more of whatever Jeri feels like experimenting with. And so the composition of my channel is anything from burning Furbies with thermite to I wasn't a ham radio operator until a couple years ago, but I was doing radio stuff, some pirate stuff. I was smart enough not to put the actual videos where I was transmitting on YouTube, because I already knew how the ham radio operators would respond to that. But recently I got my ham license, and so now there's more ham stuff showing up on my channel. So, my call sign is AI60K, and I'm mostly legal most of the time, honest sometimes. So here, I'm going to pass it down.
Thanks, Jeri. Well, I also look to K7AGE as my inspiration. I'm Dave Kassler, KE0OG, and my channel is youtube.com/Dave Kassler, DAVECASLER. No spaces, no T's, and only one S. Um, the way I got into this was kind of by accident. I was putting a few videos up on YouTube about my motorcycling, and I found that if I went through southwestern Colorado, where it's absolutely beautiful, and I got these lovely videos, I might even get 80 views. And so that was fine. I was just doing it to share with my mother and a few other people. Then I was asked to teach a technician class. I've done a lot of teaching in ham radio since I've been in ham radio. Been a VE for many years, and I thought I'd teach this class. Well, I had moved to southwestern Colorado, and there just really aren't very many people out in western Colorado. It's pretty sparsely populated. So I taught the class in Montrose and had 4 students, 2 of whom stayed with it long enough to get their license. And so I was scratching my head, how can I reach other people in the valley there and help them become hams? And I thought, well, we'll use the league's manual, the license manual from the ARRL, okay? But that book can be self-study or it can be seen in a class. I thought, I'll do something halfway in between. I will do a little short video introduction to each section of the book. Each chapter has 5 or 6 sections. And do just a little short introduction to each section. And then people in the valley here don't have to come in to Montrose all the time for these classes. Well, I got almost 0 response from people in western Colorado. It was like, oh yeah, fine. But I started getting interesting emails. They were from people all over the United States saying, we love your videos, keep them up. And I'm going, oh yeah, I guess you can watch YouTube from anywhere in the world. And so I did. I kept going, and when I got done with the novice, I did a series of videos on the general class manual, and then it took quite a while, but I did a series of videos on the extra class manual. So if you go to my ke0og.net/training for tech /general for general /extra for extra, and you get the list of the videos. There's like 40 videos in the extra series. And I have just finished, as of about last week, updating the general videos to the 2019 book. And the extra videos are going to have to be updated later this year, and the tech videos are all current. So I've updated everything up there. So most of my channel was training, but after I finished the general videos about 8 years ago, I said, you know, I polled my viewers and says, what should I do next? And somebody says, why don't you create something called Ask Dave? And I said, okay, fine. Well, lots of hams have lots of questions, and so I started doing answers to these. I started out by doing a video on antenna tuners, another one on grounding, another one on, you know, everything under the sun. Well, I'm into the 240s now on those videos. Just the Ask Dave videos. I've got over 500 videos total. How many have seen my channel? It's called, okay, quite a few people. How many of you are subscribers? You know you're called Augies, right? When you're a subscriber to OG, you're an Augie. So thank you for being Augies. I appreciate that very much. YouTube has funny metrics on what channels they support, and one of the consistent metrics seems to be the growth rate, the channel growth rate for subscribers. And so I get about 2/3 to 3/4 of my views based on YouTube recommendations. And fortunately, people stay around and do it. So the big announcement I've got today is that I have for sale, if for some reason you live someplace like Quartzsite where you don't have good internet to watch the training videos, I've got them on little thumb drives. And they're free, of course, on YouTube, but I have to charge for the thumb drive. I've got the thumb drive for Tech and Extra. I thought I might sell 5 of them. I've sold well over 100. And the generals are going to be available as soon as I get home, because I've got all the videos now. And so that's my big announcement. I've got those thumb drives for Tech, General, and Extra. So the point of my channel is to be somewhat educational, kind of fun. I want people, when they finish watching one of my videos, to not only be having learned something, but be excited about it and want to get on ham radio. And one of the reasons I really enjoy coming to events like this is to meet people. So if you see me and you're an Augie or a future Augie, there's only two kinds of people, Augies and future Augies. Please stop me and say hello. Introduce yourself. Tell me about your ham radio experience. I want to know. Now, I also started about a year ago a Saturday live stream. I can't do it every Saturday. I couldn't do it from here. There are a few people like Randy who have secret internet access. I don't. I don't get anywhere with mine here. But I do a Saturday live stream. It's at 1900 UTC. Okay, and if you subscribe to my channel, you should get a notification. That's noon Mountain Time on Standard Time. Switches to 1 o'clock Mountain Time on Daylight Time. Of course, in Arizona, it never changes because Arizona never changes. So I get probably, I think I've had as many as 170 people real time, and then another 2,000 or 3,000 come in and view the live stream afterwards. So if you have a ham radio question, send it to hamradioanswers@gmail.com. Hamradioanswers, plural, all one word, @gmail.com. That will come to me and I'll answer it or address it or say I don't know on the live stream on Saturdays. So I love my channel. I really love Augies, and I'd like to meet every one of you. So let's do that. And I'm going to turn this back over. Here you go.
All right, so there you go. That's who we are. Now, I figured, like I said, the best thing that we could do here would be to do questions and answers and give you guys a chance to ask us questions or, you know, anything you'd like to talk to us about. So does anybody have a question to start it off? Back there. Repeat each of our channels again? Certainly. Mine, you can just search for my call sign and you'll find it, KB9RLW.
Go into YouTube search bar and type in K6. It's the first thing that comes up. Now, K6 UDA radio on YouTube.
K7 AGE.
Jeri Ellsworth, Jeri, and then Ellsworth, ELLSWORTH.
YouTube/Dave Casler, DAVECASLER.
Okay, another question. Yes, sir.
Question is for Jeri. I want to know if she can share maybe a creative project or idea she hopes to do in 2020.
So the question was a creative project that I'll be doing this year. Maybe I should finish my 160-meter mag loop video. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Probably the number one question I get out here.
When that was going to come up.
Yeah. So I started a mag loop project for 160. It works really well. I started making an auto tuner for the variable capacitor, and life got in the way, and I haven't finished it yet.
Okay, who's next? Yes, sir.
Well, I heard one of you live streams occasionally. Do any of you others?
The question is that he heard Dave talking about live streaming, and he wants to know if any of us do as well. Sometimes I do when I have internet bandwidth. Now, when I had a house, I did it once a month at least. Now in the RV, it's really dependent upon where I'm at and if I have internet access. Bob, do you?
I've actually live streamed here twice, and I don't do it very often because my internet sucks, number one, at home. Oh, thank you, AT&T. And number two, I tend to stop in the middle of a sentence and think about what I'm talking about, and that doesn't come over well on video. So I do produced videos.
I don't, but what would you like to see?
Well, I'm just kind of interested in where this is all going.
That's a good question. We just keep, plodding along, I think. With things that we get a lot of, interaction with, we kind of keep going in that direction, I would say.
I used to live stream 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from my hardware lab, which was really interesting. We set up the TriCaster so that it could switch between multiple cameras. I had a pan and tilt zoom camera so you could zoom around. I had downward facing cameras that looked at my soldering station, and one facing my oscilloscope, and even my pet fish in there where the internet could come in through an IRC channel and feed it. That was super fun. We used to have somewhere around 100 people just kind of idling in there 24 hours a day. And the IRC channel had a speech synthesis set up on it, so each person that was in there had their own unique voice that they could set up. And so people used to gather and just chatter back and forth with each other about their own projects that they were doing. It was really interesting. I would be working on professional projects, and sometimes I'd have to isolate that from what was being streamed out. Other times I was working on projects, and I'd be like, gosh, I don't know what the pinout for this particular chip is. And I just imagined like 100 fingers just like, zzzz, and then pretty soon the speech synthesis would pop up and like, pin 16 is ground.
I did some live stream as an experiment to teach CW, but by about the fourth or fifth weekend of that, the viewership just dropped and dropped and dropped, and I says, okay, CW is one of those words. There are a few words in the English language that when you hear them, you feel a pang of guilt. Okay, and hams, when they hear the word CW, feel guilty. And so they'll try 2 or 3 sessions of it and then decided that it's not guilty enough to pursue it. So I changed it to Q&A. I forgot to mention one of the things I really encourage also is comments on the video. I want my channel to be a safe place for everybody to go. So if there's a comment up there that's like, any ham ought to know this, well, that comment gets deleted. I want everybody to feel that they can ask any question. And there's a reason for that. I'll tell you the story. When I first became a ham, I wanted to know how long the coax should be. And somebody said, it needs to be long enough to reach the antenna. And I thought they were pulling my leg. And I go, really, how long should a piece of coax be? Well, I finally figured out the actual answer is long enough to reach the antenna. But I couldn't find anybody who would give me a straight answer. It was always with that wink or a nod or a sneer or a good grief, you're a novice. I said, yeah, I know I'm a novice. That's what it says on my license. But so I try to treat every question I get as a sincere question. Even if it sounds a little weird. I've had some people come at me with some really sarcastic stuff, and I try to answer it straight. And several people have said, oh, thank you. Boy, I love your channel, So that's what I try to do with the live streaming.
Yes, sir, over here. Oh, you were just waving at somebody. Okay. Go ahead, AC.
Yes, he wants me to tell you a story here about what happened yesterday. We're over there past that tri-bender there on the the push-up mast, and I was back in my trailer, and I heard AC come into the campsite, our group of about 9 of us. So I grabbed my camera, turned it on, and ran out the door and poked it in his face and recorded several of his stories for about 8-9 minutes. And I was able, with my magic bandwidth, actually to get that posted just about 24 hours ago. It has, I haven't checked recently, but probably 1,000 views. And yeah, you're a famous AC. So one of them in there is from a fellow over in the UK, and he said he bought a automatic antenna tuner from AC, and he took care of the shipping of it to England, and he was just more than helpful and just a great guy, and he wanted me to pass that along and say hi to him at Quartzfest. So I passed this story along to AC earlier this morning. And there's been a bunch of other great comments on there. One is that this is why I got into ham radio. So.
You're standing.
Also, when he smelled the brats on the barbecue, he sat down.
Yes, sir, in the yellow hat.
What software do you use to edit your video?
Okay, this is probably a good one. Well, you guys might want to address it too, but I'll start. He asked what software that we use to edit our videos. Myself, I'm an open source advocate. I have no commercial software at all on any of my computers. It's all Linux and open source. So yeah. So I use KDEN Live, which is a free video editor. That it's actually supported on all the platforms. You can get it for Windows, I think for Mac. And I use Audacity for editing audio and pre-processing audio before I put it into the video. And I use various graphical programs that are also free, like GIMP, which is a free program similar to Photoshop. Inkscape is an illustration program, LibreOffice Draw. So I use all free software for my stuff. Bob?
I'm a Final Cut Pro user. I kind of got into that after what is it? The free Apple one, and iMovie. Yeah. I needed to do some more stuff, things that iMovie just didn't do, so I made the investment and started the steep learning curve. And just FYI, how Dave's is a very safe space to go, mine is completely opposite.
Started off with Movie Maker because it just kind of popped up and went, was free. I worked my whole life in the broadcast world in television manufacturing equipment, so I was kind of familiar with a lot of things. So I started getting the Sony Vegas consumer level software, and when I was reading the book, I kept seeing things like the oscilloscopes and proc amp controls and all that stuff that I was familiar with from work. So I ended up probably about 10 years ago moving up to the Sony Pro. Sony sold it off a couple years ago to a gang out of Germany. I render now in 1080. I go through and pretty much adjust the brightness and contrast, sometimes the color of every single clip. I try and get the audios as close as I can. When I'm done rendering it, I run it through Handbrake. I learned this from Dave from the EEV blog. Anybody watch his stuff from Australia? And I'm able to make it about 1/4 the size, file size for the, and it still has pretty good quality. I then upload it to euphonics.com. And they do loudness processing. You can do up to 2 hours a month free. I upload the video. I just leave all the presets set, and in about 5 minutes, it's gone through and leveled out all of the audio, and I just download it, and that's the final release that goes up onto YouTube. So everybody has different workflows.
I use Premiere. In recent years, I've gotten tired of editing, so I've been trying to make most of my videos a no edit or very little edit. So I try to do it all in one shot in under 5 minutes, and then just add an intro title screen to it. And I don't always I can't always pull that off depending on the footage, but Yeah, it's fun. It's a unique challenge trying to do something super complicated like a tech video, one shot, no edits. I use lots of crayons and regular sheets of paper to show my diagrams.
I use CyberLink Power Director. It's the greatest video editor that nobody's ever heard of. It's because it's not an American product, it's made in Taiwan. And I got hooked up with them because I was looking for something that didn't crash all the time. And I've been with them over 10 years. They made me a CyberLink Most Valued Professional, which means, I'm not sure what it means. It means I get free software every year. So it's very, very capable. It'll do essentially anything that the big boys will do. It's still billed as a consumer editor, but there hasn't ever been anything that I wanted to do with it that I couldn't, and that includes all the color management. I also use Audacity for audio editing, and I do all my compression and leveling before I put the audio into the clip. I always, well, not today, I almost always record the audio separately so that I can have some control over it. And it's all highly personal. It's like picking an HF radio. It's highly personal.
Okay, let's go over this way. Anybody over here? Yes, sir, in the back there. I'll get. How do the policies of YouTube affect your content, or our content? Well, which policies? There's so many. Well, oh, you mean as far as ranking and recommending videos and things like that? Okay. Well, it's pretty straightforward. If you're using language that you couldn't walk into a kindergarten class and use, you might get flagged. The video algorithms that YouTube uses will actually recognize speech within the video itself as well. So if you have video clips where somebody is cursing or whatever, it might get through, but you might have trouble getting advertising monetization on it because depending upon the advertisers, they might not like that, you know. So they do have a lot of automated things that go on when you upload a video before it'll get posted. As far as ranking goes, ranking is done mostly by activity, as I understand it. Thumbs up or thumbs down, doesn't matter either way, it helps your video move up the ranks. So the trolls that are out there hitting thumbs down on my video, thanks guys, I appreciate it very much. And we laugh about you on the Facebook page, especially that one guy that every video I post within 1 minute has a thumbs down. Within a minute, this guy is dropping whatever he's doing in his normal life and logging in so he can give me a thumbs down. Dude, thanks. Activity as far as views and especially shares. Was that you? No, okay. I was going to say, we're going to have a conversation after this. Yeah, hey dude, thanks. Activity also counts with views and especially shares. If somebody hits the share button, right? They're not sharing the URL at the top, but if they hit the share button to post it to Facebook or whatever, that really helps in your ranking and in recommended videos. And by recommended videos, I mean when you watch a video on a certain subject, and then you go back to the YouTube homepage and it gives you a whole bunch of videos to choose from. Those are chosen based on how those videos are doing as far as activity. So does that kind of answer what you were asking? Okay, anybody else wanted to add to that? Go ahead.
The other thing they'll nail you on in seconds is if you put any music in your video. Yes. They'll come up with a copyright violation and, you know, this nonsense. Although I do have one video, did about 10 years ago to Anchors Away with a whole bunch of QSL cards from ships and special events, and they've never flagged that one.
I think that's in the public domain.
That may be, okay.
Yeah, music is definitely one. And I've discovered with a recent video I did on a call sign pirate, just having the word pirate in the title of your video will get you flagged right away and demonetized. But When they do that, though, you can submit for a human review, and a person will actually watch it within a couple of days, and then you'll get cleared if there's nothing wrong with your video. Oh, go ahead.
I've also had videos demonetized, and normally I ask for a review and they fix it. But one time I asked for a review and they didn't fix it. They still kept it demonetized, and they would never tell me why. It's sort of like playing a game of 20 questions with these people to try and figure out what exactly is going on. No, they don't answer. They don't answer. They love their creators as long as we keep working for them. And they keep changing the ranking and the algorithms and everything like that. And I gave up a long time ago trying to keep track of that. And I just make videos. And most of the time they like them. I run about 97% likes. I also have a troll that within 2 minutes has put a dislike on my video. Oh, is it? Oh, we all have the same guy. Okay. Yeah, okay. Maybe we should.
I just want to thank Jeri for demonetizing me this morning.
Okay, I don't know what that's about. Okay, you, sir, over there.
Do you guys have any comments? I'm a assistant DEC in California. Last year, my nets went crazy because everybody that checked in said California was kicking amateur radio out of the state. And that was on account of somebody putting up a YouTube video. That'd be me.
And the question? Okay, Bob.
Hey, I'll take it. Yeah. The question was, he's a VEC. He got a lot of questions and everything about a video that I put up last year. It was a rant video. It was, it was me. It's typical me. Never expected it to do what it did and go viral, but it did. But as a result of that video and the thousands and thousands of complaints that the state of California got as a result of it, the state of California actually changed their official policy on this whole deal and reversed everything that they had done, especially after they figured out that what they had done was illegal and the gal had committed a misdemeanor. But it's you know what, it's not, sometimes it's not pretty, and and I made my own personal statement, which is sometimes not kid friendly, but I think it did a lot of good, at least for a small minority of repeater owners. And really what it amounts to, if you don't know what this whole thing was, state of California sent out a bunch of form letters to repeater owners that had repeaters housed in CAL FIRE. It's basically California's State Department of Forestry, but in the CAL FIRE repeater vaults. Some of them had been there for, since the 80s. State of California came in, sent these guys letters and said, hey, you guys are no longer a benefit to California, and get your stuff out. Take your repeater out. But if you really want to stay, pay us $6,000 and we'll do a study, and we'll figure out if you could stay, and then you could pay us rent. And that's what, that's what pissed me off. Anyway, follow-up video. What really pissed me off was the fact that the ARRL didn't even look into this. When they first got it, it was pretty much, this is all BS, and there's nothing to see here. It's one or two people that overreacted and have an agenda. Well, if it's one or two people that have an agenda, and it's about another guy who did a rebuttal video that says there's no free rack space, that guy works for the governor's office. And I get it if the state of California wants to charge rent on their equipment or their housing, that's fine. But just come out and say it. Just say we're gonna start charging your rent. The way they did it, I think, was wrong. I stand by. I think it was wrong. I've got a rebuttal video. I've got another video coming out real soon. It's going to have kind of the final explanation a little more colorfully than I just explained it.
Okay, the gentleman in the orange there. You had your hand up before. Yeah.
In the orange.
I followed some of your videos about you sold your house and you bought an RV and you did some camp stuff in there. Did you go through all of that?
Can I go through all of that? I'll sum it up. Sure. Yeah. Okay, so he was asking about my becoming a full-time RVer and selling my house and transitioning to the RV, and he wanted me to just go over that a little bit. I did several videos while I was doing that. I won't go into the details of why I did that or why I had to do that, but basically, my son had grown up and moved out, and I had this house, and it's just me, and I'm in the Midwest with winters that are just really cold. I've had frost on the inside of my front door before up in northern Indiana. And I thought, why do I still have this house? I'm making just enough on YouTube to survive. You don't make very much, by the way. If you think that YouTubers are making millions of dollars, no. But I was making enough to survive. And I thought, well, why not just take the show on the road and travel around and go live in the Southwest for a while where it's warmer? And so I went through this. I had 2 months to sell the house, empty it out, buy an RV, kit it out, get what I was going to take with me and try to gel my entire life down into what will fit inside of one RV, and then hit the road. And I managed to pull it off. I was wiped out most every day, and I did videos while I was doing it. And I had another troll pop up. I was so tired when I was doing the videos that I just looked wiped out, and he started calling me a meth head, so he got deleted. So that's pretty much it. And then I traveled around down through the east and across out to this area, and I've been living in the RV for just over a year now. And so far, so good. I'm surviving, and I've got food, and I'm dry, and that's all I really need. So I'll keep going. Does that take care of it for you? Okay. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you. Yes, sir.
What's your magic time for runtime on the length of video?
Oh, well, YouTube tells you that. In the analytics, we get an analytics page that tells us about how our videos are doing and gives you statistics, and we can see, where viewers are and what age brackets they're in. I mean, all kinds of information. One of those bits of information is average view time, and it hovers right around 5 minutes. So it doesn't really matter how long your videos are, that view and how interesting they are or whatever. Those average views are always going to hover right around 5 minutes. Have you guys seen anything different? You've seen 7? Yeah, well, that's what you get for being a shock jock.
Yeah, when that fire thing came out, I said some idiot mid-level official is speaking out of turn. It'll sort itself out. Well, the way it sorted itself out was a different YouTuber went and got it straight. So thank you. Appreciate that. As far as view time, I've noticed and I've heard from YouTube that the average amount of time people spend on videos is slowly increasing. And I've seen mine increase from about 7 to about 8.5 minutes. And that's just an average. 8.5 minutes is when half the people are gone. So if it's a video that takes 30 minutes to explain, I figure those are the half that weren't interested. And I can actually see a curve. I can follow the curve down and see what percentage of people are still with me. And I figure if 50% of the people have made it up to the point where I start going into my usual spiel about subscribing, then I figure that's a really successful video with 50% there. But yeah, mine are running about 8 minutes, but my usual video is 15 to 20 minutes. And it just takes me a long time to say anything.
I have a video coming up in a couple weeks about putting on coax connectors, crimping, and it's 26 minutes long. So you either find it interesting or go to sleep.
And so I've found the shorter your video, the more difficult it is to produce.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. True.
All right, I try to keep my videos around 10 minutes long. And the reason I did that is when I first started doing it, I tried to produce this thing like a variety TV show kind of a thing, about a 22-minute video with 3 different segments, and it got so traction. And then I figured out, because YouTube kept telling me make more videos, that if I split everything up and every single subject had its own video, I would make more videos. I could keep them down to 10 minutes, and YouTube rewards me by, well, they don't even really reward me anymore because they don't like small creators. They're trying to take back and promote big tech and big media companies again. So.
Yeah, my videos, they vary in length quite a bit. It really depends on the subject. But with the magic of editing, you can do a lot, too, to shorten a bit. Sometimes when you're talking, or at least with me, I can't speak for these guys, but I tend to repeat myself sometimes, and so it's like cut, do a little quick dissolve, get rid of the being redundant, so you can shorten them down. But I tend to just cover the subject as succinctly as I can, but still explain it clearly. And one of my most common type of comments that I get that makes me feel pretty good is people say, well, you explained that very well. I finally understand it. And so I think I'm hitting the balance pretty good. And if the people aren't watching the entire video, that's fine. They watch whatever they want. There's also a fast forward. They could skip ahead. But if they comment about something that was explained in the video maybe a little bit later on, they obviously didn't watch it, I'll just ignore the comment because I'm not responsible for your attention span. So that's just my view on it. Okay. You want to add to that?
And you can watch the videos faster than real time. You go down to that little gear and you bring it up. I watch most videos at like 1 1/4 or else 1.5 times speed to get through them.
They probably sound a little more entertaining that way too. Okay. Anybody else? Going over here? Oh, yes, sir. I'll get back to you.
When manufacturers or retailers send you products for review, what goes on behind the scenes in that regard? Do they try to exert any influence, and do you ever feel
Dave can
yourself
answer
caught between a rock and a hard place?
Pressured?
Yeah, what you say about products and services.
Okay. He was asking when manufacturers send us products for review, what goes on behind the scenes? Do we ever feel pressured by them to give a certain type of review? I'll pass it down. You guys probably each have something to say. But me, I haven't done a lot of those. But when I've been contacted by a manufacturer, I tell them in the email exchange, I will give an honest review. You're not going to automatically get a positive review, even if you're telling me you can keep the equipment, which sometimes they do. I'm still not going to let that sway the review. I give an honest review, and I tell them that up front. Generally, they're like, that's fine. Chameleon Antennas, I took apart one of their products recently that they probably didn't want me to take apart. But actually, he posted the video on their Facebook page, the CEO did, and said, great video, so he didn't really care. But I won't let them pressure me. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a sales guy on as seen on TV kind of infomercial kind of guy. I don't want to be that guy. I'll give an honest review, and I tell them that up front. The Chinese ones, they're the ones that go away. They come up and they say, we're going to send you this radio. And I say, okay, but I'm going to give it an honest review, and I don't hear from them again. So, oh well, too bad. Bob?
Same kind of thing for me. I do a lot of reviews. That's a big part of what I do. Most of the radios that I review, I buy myself. So I'm under no pressure. ICOM, Kenwood, Yaesu, very seldom will they send you a radio or anything. And I'm a big Elecraft fan. I buy all that stuff myself. The Chinese radios, the DMR radios, yep, they'll send them to you, and I tell them again, you get an honest review. And that's why people trust me, because I have chewed products apart, and I make it funny. And I mean, even some of these manufacturers, they come back and they go, yeah, that was something we needed to work on, that we pushed it out, and you know, it makes better products. I think it holds them to a higher standard. If they're going to send it out, send out something that's worth reviewing.
Yeah, this past summer when I was driving across country, I went down and saw the guys at DX Engineering, and spent the day at the store there. Then the following day, I was going out to Tim Duffy's K3 LR's contest station, so I met him for dinner, and he says we were meeting with the Summit Racing, who owns DX Engineering, and he says, we talked about your channel and your tower and antenna project, and we'd like to supply you with the material here now needed to finish it up with the coax and the crimp connectors and all the tools and things. So I said, in exchange for posting the videos. So I went home and figured out exactly what I needed, and they sent the stuff out, and it sat for about 3-4 months, and I got a email from Tim going, what happened? So I called him up. I said, just been busy with the house and all this other stuff. He's just, not a problem. So that stuff now is starting to filter through to my videos. So I've gotten a couple other things like that, but I really don't get people wanting to send me Chinese radios and such. And so it's ended up being more the equipment that I use.
Briefly, a long time ago, I took some paid sponsorship on my videos that sounded pretty good at the time. It was for an electronics company, and it turned out that it was more work than it was, worth to me, because they'd want to review my video before, and then they would request changes, and it was just for simple spots of like, go to this electronics company, they're really cool. By the way, here's this project using parts I got from there. So that's all I really did with any kind of paid advertisement on my channel. I really don't do my channel for monetary gain, so really don't care one way or another if I get paid for stuff.
Well, Kevin is right. You can't make very much money on YouTube, but I'm a retired guy, and it gets addicting what money I do make on that. I've got a tip jar. I've got a subscription tip jar. I've got Patreon. I've got whatever. All of it contributes a little bit. As far as people sending me stuff, I've gotten quite a bit of stuff from MFJ, and when that trickles down a little bit, I just call Richard Stubbs and say, hey, you got anything? And they send me the weirdest stuff. They sent me that little MFJ 123 or 1234, which is the thing you can attach to your rig and then operate it remotely. And unfortunately, I couldn't get to that video for 3 months, and so I think they're probably a little unhappy with me. I have stacks, literally stacks of Chinese handhelds. And every so often, I will take 1 or 2 down to a club meeting, and we'll raffle them off. The club, the freebie. Here's a free radio. Who wants it? Yeah, you can use it for that too. Some Chinese radios are better than others. I really like the Anytone D878UV. It's a very, very nice radio. The little Baofeng UV5Rs are great as doorstops. I got a radio from someone recently over there, but there was no email or any other correspondence or any follow-up on it, so it's still sitting in a corner because I just really don't want to. I have finally decided, after a lot of soul searching, I'm going to redirect my channel away from reviews and stuff like that, because you very easily get to the point where that's all you do. I'm going to start doing creating what I call a reference station. I'm focusing at new techs and new generals. I'm going to create a reference station because people ask me all the time, what radio should I buy? And I'm going, well, it's highly personal, Dom. So recently I've just said, go get the ICOM 7300. And so recently here, I called up Ray Novak at ICOM and says, give me a deal on a 7300. Well, I think technically if you look under definition Q-5 of deal, it was a deal. But I paid for most of a 7300. But I'm actually going to create what I call a reference station and focus my videos on that. So if you're a new general, you can come and I'll say, okay, here's what I'm buying for the reference station. You can buy exactly the same thing. Or if you happen to like Yaesu, here's an alternative, the FT991A. Or if you want Kenwood, the 590G, whatever it may be. But in my reference station, I'm putting a 7300. And people seem to like that. I'm going to have a reference power supply, reference cable types, reference everything, you know, power pole connectors, the power supply, the whole 9 yards. So that's going to take me out of the review business, I hope. Because with reviews, there was one Chinese manufacturer. You remember when the FCC came out and said basically Chinese handhelds are terrible, evil, smelly things? And they said that you can't operate a radio that is capable of operating out of the ham band. Everybody roundly ignored that. The league kind of looked at that and ignored that. The FCC hasn't moved on it. I've talked with Riley Hollingsworth to find out what's going on. But anyway, a Chinese manufacturer sent me a radio that was exactly the kind of radio that the FCC was complaining about. It had pre-programmed some channels in the ham band, some channels in the public service band, some channels in the family radio service band, some GMRS frequencies, all programmed in. And I made a video that says, this is what the FCC is warning you about. Do not, please, do not buy this radio. Well, I got an email from them afterwards, and they said basically, are you sure? I mean, we think it's a nice radio. And I emailed back, said, yes, I'm quite sure. So I've never heard from that particular radio manufacturer again. But like Bob, I give honest reviews.
Yeah, there's a lot of channels out there that review Chinese radios. So.
Okay, one moment. I'll get to you next. I just wanted to do something before I forget, because I said that I had asked my viewers to submit questions, and I had one. I just want to get that one out of the way because it'll be a quick one. I thought it was pretty good. Xander Marks asked me if I could ask the panel, and I guess he's asking me too. He says in his family, Grandpa was a ham, mother, father, uncle were all hams, and he wants to know how far does ham radio go back in your family, and how much influence did that have on you taking up the hobby? And for me, I was the first ham in my family, and then my dad followed me in, and then we were it. So it doesn't really, not me. Bob?
My Uncle Fred, W7LQL, is a ham. He's up in the Medford area, and he got me interested at a very early age with a trunk full of 2-meter stuff in a Ford Maverick.
Yeah, my dad was a radar tech on B-29s during the war and came back and got his license. So I remember I was about 5 sitting there, and he had a Johnson Invader, Johnson Viking and an SX-71, and I could flip that one switch and make the red light and all the relays click.
Well, my father was just a CB operator, but that was a good start.
I also started as a teenager with a little bit of CB, but when I was a kid, I had a doting aunt who gave me a Holocrafters S20R receiver. And I was very impressed that you could tune in certain spots and you'd hear people talking to each other. And it was the ham radio. And I pestered my dad about it. I pestered my mom, never got anywhere. It wasn't until I got to college at BYU where they had this outstanding club station that I got to know some hams and finally got my license. Now, when my kids were teenagers, I was a single parent, and my daughter, I worked with the Boulder Amateur Radio Club youth group, the Bark Juniors, as an Elmer. a fantastic organization, made many kids into ham radio operators. And I was dating Loretta, and sitting right there, and she somehow got it in her mind that I would never ask to marry her if she were not a ham. And somehow I failed to disabuse her of that notion, and I may have even encouraged it. Anyway, she got her ham license, so both my kids, so it all started with me.
Okay, Xander, so there you go. I hope answers your question. Okay, sir, in the back. Oh. Layman's terms? Uh-huh.
That's a long walk, Mike. That is a long walk. Long walk. By the time he walks, this will be over. No, you can't do that.
He asked if he was talking about radio manuals. He Ham Radio Horizons magazine and then radio manuals, and he asked if we could review the manuals. Take a look at how thorough they are and how clear they are, perhaps. Clarified. Oh, you'd like us to actually go through it and clarify it, translate it for you, translate the manual.
From Chinglish to English?
Anybody want to handle that one? No.
The best manual I ever looked at was for a Chinese handheld. The company, it was Radioddity, had put a tremendous amount of work into this manual. It was written in English by a native English speaker. It talked about every single function in there. It was all laid out. They had very carefully thought through the human-computer interface. It was a beautiful manual, and I gave them an A+ on the manual. I gave them an F- on the radio, but an A+ on the manual.
Okay, we might have time for one or two more. Okay.
Monetary side. If it's not the monetary side, if it's not a secret.
I don't mind talking about it. I can't speak for these guys, but I don't mind talking about it. YouTube ad revenue is very, very tiny. It's a fraction of a cent per view. I'll post a video. It might get 1,000 views the first day and earn me anywhere from 20 to 30 cents to maybe $1. It really depends on the advertisers that YouTube is feeding, which, by the way, we don't control what ads they're showing you. I've had that question before. Those ads are based on your computer, your search results and stuff that you've done. So it's not very much at all. Anybody else want to add to that? Okay.
So, real quick, like you said, YouTube does not pay well. The people that are making it thousands or millions of dollars are getting literally 1 million views a day. I'm average $300 to $500 a month out of YouTube ads. I've got 150 videos up or more. I get a little tiny bit out of Patreon. I get a little tiny bit out of Amazon affiliates. So when I link a product, and I link an Amazon link in there, it logs you in. It says, oh, you're getting Bob's promo code, and then when you click in there, I get paid. Big deal. And and if I get $30 a month, if I really push something, or people really like something, I'm doing real well.
Yeah, I've taken, with the way I've been posting the last couple of years, which is very sporadic, probably about $50, $60 a month from YouTube. Right now, I've got 3 out of the 6 antenna videos in Tower have been released. I have Tower Tuesdays, they're coming out. So that's seeing a nice bump going up. But the other day, my WLW video where we were back there at Dayton a few years ago, and this is about the 500,000 watt amplifier that was built in the late 20s and early 30s. That's always been my #1 viewed video, but it just went right through the ceiling the other day, and I'm mentioning it over the campfire, and somebody says, somebody posted a link on that on Facebook. So I went in there and typed WLWK7AGE, and the people from the CB Lounge posted a link to that video. They have 3,000 members, so probably who knows how many tens of thousands of people watch that, and that's where this huge spike has shown up. So anyway, YouTube's estimating now I could maybe do a $200 a month.
I'll get it right back to you. Yeah, one more thing I was thinking I should add to that, and I forgot it.
CRS.
I haven't been following where my ad revenue comes through for quite some time, but last time I checked, I was kind of surprised. It showed us where the revenue was coming from, and Test Gear was like pretty amazing, something like $5 per click-through. So it kind of depends on how your video gets associated to whom is looking at it. So, you know, I think if you're just doing cat memes, it's probably pretty low per click through, but if you can make something highly targeted, like for test instruments, they're willing to pay. It's a bid process. So an advertiser goes on there and says, I'll pay $5 per click because we think that it'll be a valuable customer versus a fraction of a penny.
I feel a little embarrassed. I'm actually doing fairly well. I'm sorry. Last year, I haven't finalized the 2019 numbers yet, but for 2018, I paid taxes on $12,000 of revenue from my channel. That was all inclusive. That was YouTube advertising revenue, Patreon, tip jar, all of that other stuff like that seemed to do pretty good. So I'm in this position now where I can't live on it. Fortunately, I've got Social Security, but I don't dare let it go because I'm used to being able to buy any ham radio equipment I want with the excuse that I'm going to make a video about it. So that's why I bought that 7300. I didn't pay for it out of my pocket. I paid it with channel funds. So it's you who paid for that 7300. Thank you, and I'll try to return the trust by making some good videos about that. So, yeah, there is money to be made. I've got 60,000 subscribers, and I'm growing at a rate of around 1,300 a month right now.
I'll never make enough to pay for my tower.
I remember. An interesting statistic from the analytics page on YouTube is how many monetized views you get, how many views you get paid for. I get paid for about 23% of my views. So that's 77% are people running ad blockers. So if you run an ad blocker and you're watching YouTube videos so no ads come up on those videos, those people are not getting paid anything for their content production. So that's just an interesting point that I thought I'd mention because a lot of people are not aware of that. You don't have to let the ads run. You can click the skip ad thing and I'll still get a little bit of credit or a little bit of compensation. But when I watch YouTube videos now after learning this, I turned off my ad blocker for YouTube so the people that I'm watching are getting compensated for their work, and I feel a little bit better about that myself, but that's just me personally. I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just bringing that up so you are aware of it because a lot of people are not. I think we might have time for one more, and they're probably going to want to kick us out of here pretty soon. Yes, sir.
What video had
The most views? What video did you post that had the most views? I'm kind of embarrassed about mine. We'll pass it down. Yeah, you know what it's about. Years ago, there was this craze went across the internet for the candle flower pot heater, where people put 3 candles, tea candles under a couple of flower pots. And I was seeing websites that were saying that the flower pots magnified the amount of heat that the candles produced. Several sites were saying that at the time. So I did a video where I put the flower pot and the candles in a box so I had a smaller space and I could measure it over a shorter time, and showed that the heat increase was no different. That video, I think, has over 500,000 views and some of the worst comments I've ever had. And it's really poorly done because it's one of the early ones. I mean, I'm barefoot. It was in my living room. I had a fire extinguisher sitting there trying to be cheesy. It was just really a terrible video. And I keep wanting to delete it, but every winter, it kind of pays my heating bill. Anybody else want to add?
5 things ruining ham radio. It's done about so far I did it exactly a year ago, and about 150,000 views so far. It still does really well. It's still my top performing video.
Like I said, my top is WLW, and as far as ham stuff, it's how to build a quarter wave ground plane. That's probably got a couple 100,000 views, and people build that all the time.
So mine is I hiked out to a lava flow in Hawaii with shovels and started scooping lava with shovels. And just like your video, it's got the most hateful comments in there, which I just go in and troll and go, LOL, LOL.
When I was doing the general training videos, there was a chapter in the section on antennas that had 6 antenna terms that were plopped in there with very short definitions. And I said, well, I'm going to do a video on this one short section. Why don't I spend a little time actually talking about these terms? So I did like a 30-minute video going through these 6 terms, like this is a vertical antenna, this is a horizontal antenna. That video has had about 200,000 views and still remains to this day, it's years old, still remains one of my top videos.
And the ones that have gotten the most crap are anytime I burn anything. So when we did the original Burning Ham out here, where we burned the HT, we got a lot of crap about that. And I did a video where I used one of these Harbor Freight great big brush starting blow torches to take parts off a printed circuit board. You just heat the whole thing up and it's smoking, and I'm banging it on the table and parts are flying. Boy, I got a lot of crap.
Okay, we're running a little over on time. I guess if anybody has maybe a direct question for any of us individually, we might take one more or 2 more. Otherwise, if not, we could probably, you guys wouldn't mind hanging around a little bit after we're done? People could come up and, yeah, so we'll be here, so you can talk to us. So anybody that has one last question,
Questions about what everybody's channel was?
Yes.
Maybe on the Quartzfest Facebook page, put a link to YouTube.
I'll do that, or James will do that. James will do that tonight, or whenever he gets internet. Okay. All right, then I guess we'll end it there. Thank you all for coming out and participating, and thank you guys here for participating, and enjoy the rest of Quartzfest.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not already a subscriber, click to subscribe. Join us on the Facebook channel for discussion about the videos, and if you'd like to help support this channel, please click to support me on my Patreon page.